Welcome to the Blank Page Podcast, where every episode starts with nothing and turns into something worth remembering. I am your host, Matt, and here's your host, Claudio. And this is the space where we
Yeah.
slow down, we think out loud, and we turn half formed thoughts into real ideas. So, whether you're here to learn, to build, or just to feel a little less alone staring at your own blank page, you're in the right place.
That is sweet. How do we follow that amazing intro?
I don't know, man. We're building. We're putting one foot in
Right?
front of the other.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. How have you been, man?
I've been good, man. How about you?
Oh, pretty good. It's
Your
been
presence
like
has been missed around the office this week, so
thank you. I have been missing the office, trying to catch up with everything. Last night I did watch last week's thought leadership building public.
hmm
Uh, for people listening. So at Improving, we have a weekly meeting that we started in Q1 of this year as an experiment where we get together for about an hour every Friday in the afternoon. And then, we talk about like building in public any kind of thought leadership idea that we have. It may be a blog post, it may be a talk, it may be an idea that's like, I would like to bring this up with my team lead or with the my client, and I don't know exactly how to present that idea. We get together to discuss that, right? So last night I was not in the office, so I could not attend. But since we record those meetings, last night I caught up with the conversation,
nice.
good conversations. So yeah, I've been missing, but tomorrow I'll be coming into the office to support your Tech Friday. I'll be there and looking forward to it.
Sweet. Tomorrow's actually my birthday.
Dude, that's awesome. What
Yeah,
a way
so
to
it
celebrate.
lined up just right.
That is perfect. Now,
Yeah,
did you have that in mind when you signed up for that, when you picked the date, or was it just coincidence?
it was coincidence.
Okay,
We have a few days that we could play with. December gets kind of weird because a lot of people vacation during that period, but
that's right.
my birthday, November 14th, just happened to line up just right.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, I have all the more reason for me to be there. It's like I'm not
Nice.
attending remotely. I'll head out of the client's office. I'm gonna go straight there. Gonna be like
Cool.
right on time.
Thank you. And I appreciate your support. Definitely looking forward
Absolutely.
to the feedback as well. Because again,
Absolutely.
this is something that is still new to me for people who do not know. Public speaking is not my thing. It's never been. I'm a bit shy, even, but because I understand that I cannot continue to rely on the excuse that this is not for me or something that I don't do or something that I'm not comfortable with. I've decided to lean into it. And I've had a lot of help
Right.
and support from people like Claudio, from people
Yeah.
like Daniel in the office. I even
Yeah.
started the Quiet Publish Substack because of this initiative.
Right.
And I'm just leaning in, doing more, and speaking and building in public, more importantly. And that's the way I'm going to
Yeah.
continue to do. Anything that I find to be difficult, instead of fleeing, retreating, I'm going to lean in and do the difficult thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that, and I thank you for sharing that because like that's what we hear from a lot of people. Like people are really afraid of public speaking,
Yeah.
right? It's a common fear, well documented that a lot of people are afraid of it. And I've been fortunate that over the years I've worked with so many people that's like that like you being one of them is like, Matthew, you are so great, so thoughtful, you listen well, and then you provide very articulate, insights and feedback. Why are you not giving more talks, right? People have to hear what you have to say. And I understand I've worked also with a lot of people who are introverts by nature, right? But when they speak up, it's like, okay, everybody should shut up and just listen because people should be listening, to those. So yeah, I'm always happy to see people like, coming out of that, situation and just putting things into practice. It's always very rewarding to see.
And that's the key word for me, the practice of it.
Yeah,
Spending time preparing.
yeah,
That's really been one of the gaps. It is, it's easy to get in front of people in a sense. So,
hmm
for example, I can get in the room, but it is okay. What do I do next? How do I put one foot in front of the other? How do I, let's say in our talk we had three legs, for example,
hmm
and we partitioned it by having you speak at the beginning, me following, and we had a very structured setup. And
Right.
when there is a structure, I'm very good at sticking to that. But
Mm.
again, because I don't have like this large experience or history of doing this kind of public speaking,
Yeah.
once I finish one thing, it's like, okay, how do I follow it with the next thing? Or what is the next thing? And there's the matter of
Right.
reading the audience, engaging with the audience, timing. There's all of these different components, but again, all of it
Right.
comes naturally in a way with practice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's the practice and it's the setting the expectations, right? What expectations do you have for yourself?
Yeah.
And making sure that the audience also knows what to expect, right? So if a person wants to get in there and they expect to like just show up and sound like all knowing, know it all, I'm the expert. Well, if you're setting yourself to those expectations, it's hard to live up to those
Oh
expectations. Not
yeah.
impossible, but it's
That's
that's
the
what you're working with.
that's what people are going to hold you to.
Exactly. So, and
So
it's the same thing like the setting it up or setting the expectations with the audience. That's what it's one of the tips I've given people. If you
mhm,
start a talk and you present yourself as the expert, expect hard questions, period.
absolutely.
Right? If you show up and you say, thank you very much for joining, I'm, really happy and grateful that you all have joined me here to, hear me talk about the thing that I have just learned or that I have, X, Y, and Z level of experience, right? And people will be in there with you. Like I've given so many talks that's just like this. Like, guys, I've learned this like maybe 2 months ago. I'm piecing
Hmm.
some parts together. This is how much I know and I would like to share. If you
Yeah.
know more about any of these things, and if you don't mind, reaching out to me to help me out with that, that would be awesome. And ever since I started doing that many years ago, I don't remember having anybody in the audience like raising their hands to ask some question just to like put me down, just to show
Yeah.
how much more they know than what I'm, because right there you set the entire audience in your favor, right? Like, yeah, stuff like that.
I agree. And that piece of advice has been something that I follow. At the very outset of every presentation or talk that I give, I level set. I let people know where I am and what they should expect from the talk that I'm going to give. One thing that I've gotten very comfortable with over the years, this is not necessarily a new thing that comes along with me preparing to give talks, but I say I don't know when I don't know. And I am very confident about not knowing. I will let you know
Right.
right away because the goal for me always is to move towards knowing.
Yeah. So it's like, what is the next thing that I need to know?
Yeah,
Right? The thing about like the more we know, it seems like the less we know, right? It's
yeah,
just like the more we know, the more we are aware of the things that we don't know, that we couldn't even see before. Now we can
yes,
see them and then deciding, what do I want to learn next?
yes. And the comfort in not knowing is also a comfort in asking questions.
Yes. Yeah. It's I've been pondering a lot about that. On the asking questions, and depending on what it is that I'm doing, I try to optimize for identifying what the next questions should be,
Yes.
right? Not thinking, is that a good question? Is that a bad question? Is it
Yeah.
a question that's going to get me closer to whatever I'm trying to get? So
Yes.
optimizing things, and the optimizing things might be, what is the next thing that I need to learn so that I get experience with what I don't know to then keep moving from there.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
that is something I treasure. Being in spaces where I do have a comfort in asking questions. And at this point, to be honest, no matter what space I go into, it can be a room of experts. It can be a room of kids that may want to ask me things, and I want to ask them things as well. If I don't know, I want to say that as soon as possible. So again, I can move
Yeah.
towards knowing. And it served me well. It served me
Good.
well because I'm around people who have a desire to teach, and you
Yeah.
don't know who the teachers are until you become the student.
That's very true. Yeah, and the thing about, the great teachers are the one that never stop being students, right? Yeah, think about that a lot. I like that. That's like an approach that I've mentioned to people as like an approach to like conducting code reviews, for
Yeah.
instance. So like, oh, let's say I'm a principal developer and I created some code. I need some code review. Well, let me get another principal or somebody higher than me to review my code. I go the other way around. It's like, no, I want to pair up with, junior, senior consultants and ask them to do the code review, because that's going to teach me a lot of things that I don't know. Like, what is their
Yes.
current level? What are they comfortable with? Do I need to change anything in my approach to make them more productive?
Yeah.
Like, because it's about the team, not about just one guy saying, oh, I'm a badass whatever developer. Like, that's not the point, right?
And I
So you
think
have to learn what is it that they don't know.
absolutely. And I think it's empowering for the people who are more junior, to come
Yeah,
with them and say, hey, here's my code. I want you to review it. And they'll ask you
yeah,
questions like, hey, why did you make this design decision? And maybe it's something that you maybe you don't have a very, very clear answer. Maybe it's just this is the way I've always done it. And if that is the answer that you have to give to a more junior person, maybe in that moment you decide this answer doesn't feel satisfactory. Because I've always
no.
done it this way, doesn't seem satisfactory to give to a more junior person. So it requires you to reach deeper, to stretch.
100%. That's being something that's whenever I catch myself just about to say that
Hmm.
sentence, that's how I've always done. I stop. And when I hear from somebody else, I also try to build room to ask the question, because it's like we lie when we say that's how I've always done. If it is like breathing, maybe that's how I've
Yeah.
always, breathed. It's like that, oh, this is how I've always blinked.
Hmm.
But beyond that, oh, this is how I've always written my tests. No, you
No,
lie. There was a time in your life when you didn't write any tests. You didn't
that's
do
right.
TDD. You didn't write clean code, right? You knew nothing of those. Try to reconnect back when you didn't know those things. Now you take it for granted, right? If you're working with somebody who hasn't had the same experience, you need to connect with where they are, right? And help them their next steps, which is hard. That's why I've
Yeah.
this, I think it connects with something that I've been doing recently, which is every week I'm spending like about half hour going through every single blog post I have out starting 20 years ago.
Yes.
Because as I'm going through it, I'm doing things like, I totally forgot about that. Even though like I've been pretty good at like keeping track of things that's like, oh, I remember when I didn't know TDD. I remember when I didn't know BDD. Whatever, you name it. But then going through some of those posts, like, oh, I totally forgot about that one thing. But then reading those posts from like 17 years ago, it reestablished some connections that I forgot they were there. And that's the other thing about the whole, you know, the more we know, the more we realize that, the less we know type of thing, because as
Yeah.
we start increasing that sphere of what we know, we start losing track of the core. So it builds like this donut where it's like, yeah, you are on the edges learning more, and then, going onto these adventures, and you're forgetting the core, the basics, right? And then that's where we get sloppy, because it could be that, okay, whenever I learned that, I learned it in a way, in a certain point of my journey, and I never revisited. So as
That's right.
time goes by, maybe when you first learned it, you learned it very sloppy, and you grew that sloppiness, and you never realized, if you don't go back and say, okay, let me go back to the basics here. Now that I know a little bit more, I'm gonna like strengthen my core, right? If I keep revisiting them. So it's like almost like this trajectory that you go out and then you come back. And then every time you go out, you go farther out, right? And then you come back. So it's a weird visualization that I have for that, but it works out well.
I mean, the way you're describing it makes perfect sense. But in your case, you've been journaling for 20 years on and off. And even that's not entirely true. Like you are very consistent in your journaling. You may have had gaps here or there, but you've got 20 years of writings.
Hmm.
So you have something to look back to. You can revisit your past self. You can revisit how was I thinking about test-driven development in 2008, for example, and read
Mm-hmm.
through your thoughts. And this, in a way, is a form of time traveling. So you can do this thing.
Yeah.
If you are not documenting your journey anywhere, looking back is kind of difficult. I mean, it's hard for us to
Yes.
recall things that happened yesterday, much less 20 years ago. So
Yeah.
I would be for that reason I would like to at this moment recommend anybody who isn't journaling, anybody who isn't, keeping a record, a document of everything that you've been doing. Not even necessarily everything, but some of the things that you feel are more important. Um, this is an invitation to do that. It'll serve you well.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I second that. And I have to say, like, yep, I've been like writing publicly for 20 years. I have my own personal things that I've
Yeah.
been writing, right, journaling. And if anything, I just wished I had things that went even further back out because, I've been leveraging so much of having that content that I can revisit and better understand the way I operate, the way I act to things, the way I
Yes.
overcome obstacles. That once you've overcome those obstacles and you start taking things for granted, well, did you really learn? Because if you run into a similar situation in the future, you don't remember what it felt like not knowing or how you reacted to it and what allowed you to overcome that and grow from that. That's all lost if you don't make this practice of revisiting those things.
Yes. And I think that's how we get to a point where people can say things like, "That's the way I've always done it." So it's not
Yeah.
necessarily that I don't think the intention is for those people to be dishonest, but it's really difficult
Hmm.
to harken back to something that took place 15 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. That's good stuff, man. Gets the mind spinning for sure. Huh.
We had a good AI
Oh,
roundtable this past Tuesday.
that is correct. Yes, I enjoyed some of the things shared there. Um what like resonated the most with you there? Is there
Both
anything that you're gonna remember that one by?
I would say so. Michael started off and he was going to give a presentation. He had some technical difficulties, and Jake followed up. And Jake is so cool, man. He shows off his workflow using this tool called N8N, and
Right?
you're able to build on all of these cool workflows. One of them, he says that he has a problem with, and I'm calling it a problem, but maybe he didn't say it this way. But during the day, he wants to visit different websites and get news from them, right? And
Mm-hmm.
this is something that maybe he wants to only spend 30 seconds doing, but you know how it goes. Like once you get distracted and you're
Yeah.
looking at some article, it snowballs. You're looking at that one and the linked article after that, and you've spent 10 minutes. So he said,
Right.
okay, I recognize that this is something that I don't want to do. I don't want to fall into these time sinks. So I'm going to build out a
Mm-hmm.
workflow that goes and scrapes all of these news sources that I would manually look through, extracts different headlines, summarizes them. His tool
Right.
even summarizes the comment section, if I remember correctly. And
Yep.
it,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
it basically gives him a summary. So instead of the 30 minutes or so that he might have slipped into, he will have maybe 10 minutes where he has a focused look at all of these topics that he would have otherwise spent more time looking at. And that was just one example
Right.
of something that I took away and I thought it was very cool. He's actually running the N8N server. I mean, running N8N from his home server. So that's another thing. There is a
Right.
paid service that they have, but he's running a free version of it. And
Mm-hmm.
that I have a Raspberry Pi here, so I'm thinking of spinning up something similar here at my house. And I thought
Hmm.
that was really cool. Michael's tool was really cool
Yeah.
as well. And it was like a progression of the talk that you gave, where you have your own
Right.
processes, right? And
Mm-hmm.
his tool basically streamlined some of this, where all of us, this is an internal tool, or at least that's the intent. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we can go in, we can say, hey, this is my intent. This is what I plan to do. Can you help me
Mm-hmm.
build out user stories, for example? And it does it handily. And it was cool to see that thing. There are pros and cons to that kind of setup because
Mm-hmm.
maybe you are very opinionated about the way that you want your stories to be structured, given
Mm-hmm.
when thens versus another paradigm. And
Mm-hmm.
knowing how to roll this stuff yourself gives you more power versus a tool that makes some of these decisions for you. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. It's it's looking for the things that fits you better. Like Jake's thing, I love the workflows. Like I love the intention behind
Hmm.
it. And I've done a few things that are similar, but we definitely approach from a different angle where
Yeah.
he likes like the tweaking, the learning, like the setting up, the local
Yeah.
server and
Yeah.
stuff. And as soon as he got into that, I'm like, yep, I'm not doing any of that. It's like it's just no, I'm not. That is not something that I would enjoy doing it myself. Like
Okay.
no, it's not the part of the process that I like, but the part of like, yeah, summarizing stuff. Here's some
Yeah.
two things that I've done similarly. I've been following to like to keep up with, not to keep up, to keep awareness to AI tools that may serve me for something that I need right now or in the near future. I've been following two daily newsletters, like
Okay.
the Rundown and the Superhuman AI or something like that. Because those, like, as they come in, what I've been doing is like I skim over it. I don't read everything. Like I skim over it, and my brain will know when to make me stop because like that will come in handy. Try that
Yes.
out. It's like, okay, I'm gonna try that out right now. Or if it's something that I know it's coming up, I'm gonna save a note about that somewhere, right? In Obsidian, in my case.
Yes.
So what I did, I said, okay, I don't want to be doing that every day. I want some sort of automation for that. So that was my first experiment with what is it, OpenAI's Atlas, the browser? Is it
Yes.
Atlas? So because I thought, okay, ChatGPT knows a lot about of my use for AI because like I voice journal and say I have this idea, I'm using this, I'm giving talks, it has a transcript so it knows how I'm leveraging AI, the things
Yes.
that's spark my interest. So I said let me try Atlas, and what I want to do is this, like I have those newsletter emails going into I have a specific label applied to it in my Gmail, so they're all filtered and they skip my inbox. And then I went into Atlas and I said, well, given what you know about me, I want you to summarize these newsletters that show up there and just show me what I should be looking next, right? If you see something as like you've been blogging about this, you've been talking about this, you've been having these ideas, this is a new AI tool that you should look. So I set it up where it sends me a weekly email. I just got my first one last weekend. I look at it, it's like, well, it's not quite there. I think it needs a little more work. But that's one way that I'm using that because I have no
Yes.
patience to be going through like, oh, there's just a whole bunch of new shiny toys. I
Yeah.
don't care, right? My shiny toys, they're different. They go, pretty fast at a racetrack, or they make good sounds when I put them together in music. That's what nice toys for me are. The other thing that I've used something similar that I've been using for a while is, so at Improving, we've been offering these public webinars that we call Improving Talks every Wednesday, right? There's always like or there has been themes every month with nice talks and all, but I cannot catch up or keep up with all of them.
That's
So
right.
what I have been doing is when the videos come up on YouTube, I have a little command line tool that I download that transcripts, right? And then I drop it into ChatGPT where I have a object that has instructions so that when I give it a transcript of a talk, it does resonance analysis. So it does like it knows the kind of stuff that I'm interested in. So it goes through the script and through the transcript, and it tells me, well, so speaker so and so has shared thoughts on the following things. It aligns with your thinking or the things that you've been talking about here, here, and here. There are some points that they mentioned that you've never mentioned, so you may want to look into these things because it connects with these other things that you've been, So it gives me these analysis. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And then depending on what comes out, I'll say, I'll watch that video at double speed when I'm on my treadmill. When it gets to certain points that I've made notes from that transcript analysis, then I slow it down. I
Hmm.
take my time, I take notes, and then I go back into that analysis, and then I voice the thoughts that came to mind as I watched the video. And then I say, okay, out of all of that, draft me a blog post, because that's my way to like, okay, I got awareness to that content. I watched it. If I felt like, oh yeah, that sounds like something I should be watching, I watch it. I get my other thoughts on it, put it all together, and then write it out as a blog post and put it out, because that's a way for me to later say, I remember watching a talk by an improver on this topic, and I know I had some thoughts and connections. It's a way that I've approached analysis, or that kind of workflow.
I like that idea. One approach, or I guess would be the typical approach for that kind of thing, is you see a talk, you talk to someone else about it, and you can hash out your ideas that way and get a different perspective. Maybe even the person who gave the talk. But this idea of you getting the transcript, you digesting it while you're on your treadmill, listening to it at double speed, slowing down when you get to parts where it's like, I need to pay closer attention to this, or this is where the meat is.
Yeah.
And then drafting a blog post based on that and giving your own perspective, looking at it through your lens. I think that's a cool idea.
Sweet.
I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah. That's
One
been the, yeah.
one of the things that came up in the meeting, and I believe this was Kevin Jordan, he mentions AI won't replace the facilitator. And the idea here is, for example, we record all of our meetings. It's been a mainstay at this point. If we get together, even this meeting that we're doing right now, this is recorded. We'll get the transcript. We'll feed it to some LLM, extract insights, actionable items, etc. But let's say in a meeting with a client, there are certain things that AI simply cannot record at this point in time. For example, a person in the room who is usually chatty but is uncharacteristically quiet during this meeting. The ability to read a room in the way that we can, like
Yeah.
literally scan and read the room, understand like workplace politics. These are just simply things that cannot be captured at this point in time by
Right.
AI. So that is
Yeah.
not something that we can trade a human in for. Like we still need that human to do that work. They have to be competent at that job because there are human beings who you can sit into a room and they cannot read the room. But if you have a person
Yeah.
who does have that skill, they're not replaceable in that way.
100%. And I've been like recording, say, sprint review meetings, to gather feedback from stakeholders without having to say, oh, hold on, let me take note of that. It's like, no, let's keep eye contact so that we
Absolutely.
can keep reading the room, reading reactions, and then later come back to it. And then it's like the reactions, because as you said, AI cannot read those reactions. Like if people are going like, AI is not going to catch that. It's not going to
Right.
catch the, like people leaning in, it's like, I'm
Yes.
really interested. Keep talking. AI will not catch. It will catch like the way that people are talking. If they are talking, it will catch that. Well, the person sounded excited, the person
Yeah.
sounded whatever. It will catch on those things from the voice tone and all that. But the body language, it does
No.
not read that. So that's like the facilitator part. So yeah, if you're presenting the hard work of the team during the whole sprint to the stakeholders, that is the thing. It's like reading the room, read everybody, all the stakeholders there, like what were the reactions, and then bring that back. That has been part of my process with Scrum,
Yes.
where it's duty of the team, in my view, to sit in that sprint review, paying attention to everything and taking notes, like reactions. When somebody showed whatever on the screen, that specific person, they looked, and then whatever, however they describe. When we show up to retro, we discuss that. Like what were the reactions? Because not everybody caught everything. Let's share that now. And is there anything we should change the next time we do it? So that during retro, we don't discuss only the work we've done, the code that we wrote, the features that we deployed, but it's even how did we conduct sprint review? Because if during sprint review, you have like just a fraction of the time that you spend during your sprint review. And if you do a bad job at sprint review, it messes up the results of the entire sprint. You may have done an amazing job, amazing work, but if you fail at presenting it, that's not great.
Agreed.
Right? If you start like seeing people like losing interest, that should come up in retros. Like, what can we do to make it more interesting to people?
Yes.
Can we optimize certain things so that we can get to the points that the people are there for, instead of waiting for things to like spin its wheels on a screen type of things? Like, they are not there to see that, right?
Catching these things early is a means of cost cutting in a way.
It is
Because
100%.
it's like a wound that festers over time. I mean, this could be a small cut.
Yeah.
You could there's a nail hanging on the door, you cut yourself, and if you don't address that right away, maybe you get gangrene or something.
Yeah.
And speaking of cost cutting, one of the things that came out of that meeting is for us to stop selling this idea of cost cutting, and instead there's a different frame. Start selling capacity. So the thing that was mentioned is selling our services as cost cutting measures is toxic in a way. We can offer more delivery because the story lands better, more backlog items getting done, more experiments, more iterations, and less someday, and moving the deliverables to a closer point in time.
Yeah. Let's expand on that, because this afternoon, just as we were wrapping up the day, my teammate Alexis and I were talking about like some of the things, like the speed that we can get certain things done right now. So here's an analogy. Bear with me, because
Sure.
people use so much analogies for things that I don't connect with, like baseball and American football and some
Yeah.
other things, and golfing, and where it's like, yeah, you can use those analogies all day long. It does not connect. So I'm gonna do some of that to you now. So here's something I've learned from riding motorcycles going pretty fast. Because you know how methodical I am, when I go out there to ride, so collecting data. I run a data logger so that later when I come back home, I can analyze the data, find the information, identify knowledge and insights to understand like what do I need to do to go faster next time while still remaining safe, right? What can I do to get just a little bit better? And an observation that I've made, and I write down, like I journal things like that while I'm at the track. I'm taking notes in between sessions. When I come home, I do like a debrief, because my observations, they are data. Like, how did I feel going into that corner? Did I feel like, holy moly? Or it's like, nah, I felt like kind of too slow. I think I could have gone faster. Um, and then I compare that with the actual data that comes from the data logger. Like, how fast was I going into corners, out of corners, acceleration, and all that. I put that all together holistically, and I figure out what to do next. And one observation that I've made years ago that I've noticed is, as I started going faster in certain corners, I found my next bottleneck, from the standpoint that's like, okay, now I'm going faster through that section. It means that on a motorcycle, different than on a car, you have to move your body faster. You have to move your hands on the controls faster. You have to move your feet faster. So at whichever speed I was going at prior, I had more time to like change where I'm looking to control my trajectory. And it's like, okay, so the faster I go, the faster I have to be aware of how I'm moving my body and everything on and off the bike. It's like, okay, that was mind blowing to me to have that realization. Today I was thinking something similar with leveraging AI tools, where we are building things way faster than we were before.
Yes.
So one of the things, like with this racing comparison, if you will, is that as I have to start like moving faster on the bike, I have to also change where I'm looking next faster.
Sooner,
So
yeah.
whichever reference points I had, they no longer work because they are coming at me faster. I need to find the next one. So like, how does that relate to say a Scrum team? So let's say a Scrum team where you have a product that we used to release every 6 months. So we look way out there, and then we like it has been a practice in this industry where we try to prepare a backlog so that we have user stories for the next 2 sprints, right? We try to stay ahead, like just by that amount at the speed that we are like cranking new features like that, should we look out more where we see like 6 months, ahead? Or should we shorten that and say, no, we're going to do 1 month releases because things are coming at us so much faster that we need to adjust for it. So with this analogy, it's like, how do we change where we are looking? Are we looking at the user story right in front of us, or are we using at an entire user story mapping where you have multiple stories connected and you see the passage of time as they connect workflows? Like, where are we looking to adjust to that speed? And I'll stop.
I love this analogy. I'm a person who likes to drive fast and not on a track. So
Ooh, that's not good, buddy.
it is awful. And this is not something that I do regularly, but this is a desire that I do have. So
Sure.
maybe I should take my talents to the track.
Yes.
But one thing you said up front is you have to measure how do I, or you're asking yourself, how do I go faster while also being safe?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering like how you negotiate that because the comparison holds in many ways when we're comparing software development to driving fast on a racetrack,
Right.
but the stakes are a lot higher. For example, if you don't increase the speed at which you're turning your feet or turning your body, moving your fingers across the controls, the cost can be
Mhm.
very high. Um,
Correct.
Whereas in the software development space, there's still a cost. It may not be your body, but it could be the health of the project. And
Um,
what I'm thinking about is maybe this means because we are moving faster in some ways, but maybe this means our ability to move fast in terms of like churning out a proof of concept, for example. Maybe this means we can use this time to spend more time speaking to the clients or spend more time coming back to them when we have questions because we can pivot really quickly now. Um,
right.
and I think this is something that we always could have done, but it's like, hey, if we ask these questions now, maybe we will give the impression that we can do more than we have the capacity to do. So I think these tools that we have today have increased our capacity in ways that allow us to make space for some of the questions that we may have been afraid to ask.
Yes, I agree.
So if we are spending more time in
Mm,
meetings and we are able to action on those meetings quicker. So for example, the client says, hey, what if, the page, what if we created a new page and they describe this page? And ordinarily, before these tools that we have today, we may say, okay, we'll get back to you in a week and show you what that might look like. Where now we might say, we may not tell them this, but maybe we take the feedback and by tomorrow we have something that we can show them. This allows us to surface some of the issues with their approach much sooner. So in effect, we are driving the bike faster. We are looking ahead and turning our bodies faster to adjust to the speed at which we're moving and the ability to forecast by looking in a direction that we may
right.
not have been able to because of the speed that we were only limited to at in past times.
Yeah. And that one of the reasons why I like this analogy of like comparing like a racetrack to a scrum team is because at a racetrack, you're always coming around, right? So
Yeah.
you go with one approach to it, you start getting faster, and then you feel like, oh, can I brake deeper? Did that
Yes.
improve my times? Do I need to get on the gas earlier? If that didn't work that time around, you get another chance, another chance, another chance. With a Scrum team, sprints, right? You try something on a sprint, you document, like you say, this is what I'm gonna try. And then this is how I'm gonna track what I'm doing.
Hmm.
And then at the end, I can evaluate and say, was that the best approach? Do we have a better trajectory? Do we need to course correct? What are we going to try next? Right? And it keeps going round and round. And I like that analogy because there are things, and it's like learning to drive a car, right?
Yes.
Where at first you're like fully focused on, okay, goes right, goes left. That one is the gas. Okay, I press, it moves. Okay, the other one is the brake. Well, it stops. And you're paying attention to every single one of those things. And then as we get used, we start like actually looking out
Yes.
and like just the road right ahead of us. And later we're looking like two corners down, right? We learn this as we go. So like in a software project, it's going to be very similar, very slow as we're like learning all of the different pieces and eventually, and if we're tracking like, okay, that worked and we did it this way, next time, do we need to do that? Do we need to go like through that kind of checklist? Or it's like, now you don't need like a 12-step checklist when you say, you know, engage first gear, you don't have to think, oh, hand brakes, clutch,
Yeah, yeah,
this and
yeah.
that. It's like, no, you engage first gear. You don't have to think about the other
It
stuff.
becomes a background process.
Yeah. So that's part like in like months ago, part of my process with my team was like, okay, we have the user stories, we cut our acceptance criteria, our given when thens, then we design, like if we have already a UI design that comes from the UX design, do we have a mock-up? If we
Hmm.
do, let's design the API endpoints to support that experience. And for everything, like we would spend like anywhere between 30 minutes to a couple of hours, sometimes even more, depending on the complexity of the feature, to do every single one of those things. And we would add individual tasks to the board to say, do the design, create a stub version of the endpoint, implement the endpoint, implement the controller, implement validation, this, that, and the other. They were all distinct tasks. With AI, we don't, now we have like one task that is implement the endpoint, which is going to be design the endpoint, do this thing, write the test, implement the handler, blah, 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 right? So it's a whole collapsing tasks,
Yeah.
right? So it's a moving the body faster without thinking about the intermediate steps.
Another thing that I really like about this comparison is when people think about a racetrack, it is very predictable. It keeps the same shape.
Right.
There's not going to be a turn that you did not expect, given you having been around this track many times and you've studied it. But
Right.
your bike on that course will never take the same path twice. And what I mean is this, you
Okay.
taking that turn and you braking, for example, if you could look at this from a bird's eye view top down and you can have like this, I believe when it comes to racing and video, there's this idea of a ghost where you can overlay one
Yep.
video and you can overlay another pass of it. Will
Yep.
those two passes be identical? Even if your idea is to break at the same point in the course every single time and turn your body the same way every time, if you overlay one run versus the next, they will not be identical. They will be very close because that's what you're trying to optimize for, but they're not identical.
Yeah.
So even though you have the same course, this identical course, your movement across it, even though you're trying to do something and optimize and ensure that, hey, I want to shave off seconds, which means do this the most optimized run and maybe match it. But in your pursuit of matching it, it will never be identical. There's just too many moving parts.
Too many moving parts. And there's when I started getting a little bit deeper into like data analysis for racing and things like that to understand things better. I watched this video where some car racers were analyzing something and like telling like what they saw from just reading the data, not really like the raw data, but like charts and stuff that to the
Yes.
untrained eye is like, I have no idea what those charts mean. I don't understand. So they were explaining right, deceleration, acceleration, finding this is where they were hitting the slowest part of the corner, the apex, and this and that. And
Yes.
they were like, okay. And then they would overlay like the ghost of the images, like the data. Like, oh, on this one they went like a quarter of a second slower, and this one they went like almost a full second slower. What happened there? Because everything else in the data is fine, but at that one lap, what happened there? The
Yes.
data itself didn't show that, but they had onboard camera and they caught where the driver was looking.
Mm-hmm.
That very specific lap, he was not like changing his reference points the way he normally did. There was something that caught his attention, and he was like, he was looking here instead of looking here. It was enough for him to like run. Like if he didn't like let off the gas a little bit, he would have run off the data. You only see like, oh, it looks like he slowed down a little bit, but what? Maybe it was a car mechanical or something like that. No, it was where he was looking.
Yes.
So I think it speaks to like the observation, like what does how many lines of code are we seeing committed? How many tasks are we seeing moving across the board? Where are the people looking?
Where are the people looking? And when that question is asked, it may not even be at the code level that we should be paying attention. It may be, um, instead of looking, where are we listening? Are we capturing
Yep.
the idea that the client or the stakeholder is trying to communicate? Are we repeating back to ensure that there's a shared understanding and then
Yep.
moving forward from that point? For example, in your talk at Air, maybe 2 weeks back at this point, you wanted to generate user stories. And at the very beginning of this user story, it has like a summary of what's supposed to happen next. And you were like, hey, if we can agree on this summary, the rest of the text doesn't even matter. If this is right, then we can move to the next thing. And it's the same thing with the
Yes.
clients. If we cannot agree on what we should be doing next, or we don't understand the why or the intent of the customer or the client, we can't move to the next thing. And I think, well, I've seen
Yeah.
in my own experience where we will move to the next thing. We will begin to implement something without there having been a full or complete understanding of what the uh, shareholders, our stakeholders' intent was. So we begin to
Yeah.
build something and we bring it back to them to show it to them. And they're like, this is not what I expected or what I wanted.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
ability to return to them much faster because of the tools that we have where we can mock something up really quickly, show it to them, we can get back to the, oh, this is what I wanted or this is not what I wanted much quicker and at a reduced cost.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you know what is fascinating? What this is reminding me of? I was in a sprint review conversation a few months ago, and I prompted questions to get to the bottom and under the bottom of the issue and trying to understand exactly the motivations of the user, the business, whatever the case was at the time. And I did hear like a few sentences as that that's what I was looking for, right?
Hmm.
It gave me, I steered the facilitation part, right? To really get us to what we needed. And then weeks later, when I was ready to like revisit that conversation, because we were gonna cut some user stories and start designing that, I'm like, okay, I know we had this conversation. I remember like I asked the question. I remember I was very satisfied with the answers, but I remember like there were three examples, and I remember one of the examples. I couldn't remember the other two. It's like I need that. So I went back to the AI transcriber, right? And I found that part, and it was fascinating because in the raw transcript, because it was coming, like all of the conversation was coming through the same microphone, like reading the raw transcript, that would be useless. It
Yep.
was impossible to follow because people were like talking over each other, you know. But then the transcription was amazing. Not only did it clean that up, but it actually changed the wording, retaining the meaning, the intention, but spinning with the business context. Like it gave me like precisely what like a business analyst would make out of what was shared. And it was right there. 3 bullet points, exactly what I needed, stated from a business perspective. I'm like, this is out of this world.
That brings to mind another great use case for keeping the human in the loop. When we think about transcripts in that context, where you have multiple people in the room, even some of the better tools can do diarization now, which is I can pick out different voices and assign labels to them. This is speaker 0, speaker 1, speaker 2. But if people are talking over each other, it's really difficult in some cases for these tools to pick apart who's saying what. But if you still have that audio and you're the human in the loop looking over this transcript, you will be able to do this splitting in ways that these tools cannot do. And you can go in and manually update this transcript and say, oh, this is this person saying that, and type it out, clear it up, clean it up.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
One other thing, and I know we're running up against the clock here.
Sure.
And this is, I believe, from Steven. And he's saying the way that we want to sell next year is that all improvers are AI powered consultants. And the difference between having an AI team versus everyone being AI native by default. And in these conversations from the sales team, they're basically letting, prospective clients know that this is just the way we work. This is not an add-on. We don't have like some, okay, here's your AI option. This is just the way we work by default. And I like that framing a whole lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, it does go back to a few episodes ago when we draw the comparison to using power tools, right? You hire some builders for your great new house, and guy shows up with a regular screwdriver. It's like, nah, that's not gonna help, buddy. It's gonna take you like my lifetime to build the thing. So it's the same thing with people who are, building digital solutions, right? If you're showing up and say, okay, hold on, I'm crafting my CSS here and my HTML here, it's like, buddy, giddy up. That's not gonna cut it.
And just as it wouldn't cut it if that same guy shows up with his hand tools and then he points to some box and says, hey, if you upgrade, I can break out the power tools and get the project done much quicker. I don't know if that's an attractive selling mechanism. It's like, hey, let me know what we can do up front and let's move in that direction. So I do like and appreciate the idea that we're AI powered consultants. So we're still doing the same work that we're doing. It's just enhanced by the new tools that we have, by these power tools, because
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I'm sorry. I'm in this comparing things now. You mentioned like about, like going fast, not necessarily on a track. I'm almost comparing it to like us being AI powered consultants versus the people who are getting into some development through the now called so-called vibe coding.
sure.
Right? Where the AI powered consultant has the guardrails, know how to do it safely, knows where to go look and not get into trouble,
Yes.
right? Versus the person who's like, oh, it's very easy to do this thing, and then they call vibe coding here, blah, 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 it creates a whole bunch of stuff, right? It gets you going fast, but will you know how to stop? Can you actually maneuver through the challenges may not be prepared for that.
And this is why the comparison to the racetrack is so important, especially what you said about negotiating, moving faster and still being safe. Like if you're vibe
Yeah.
coding, you can move at breakneck speeds, but
Mm-hmm.
at what cost? And in many
Yeah.
cases, the cost is safety. There have been many cases at this point where people will publish things into the wild that they've built over a weekend, and people are submitting their private information to them only to discover that there's a huge leak, only to discover that this information isn't protected, using the
Yeah.
most basic means of protecting this data. And it's because they didn't know. They know that they can move fast and
Hmm.
build things, but they don't know how to fence it in and protect the data that they're ingesting.
Hmm. Oh man. So I'll keep drawing some parallels there because they keep up.
Hmm.
Thanks for entertaining the thought. But
Of course.
uh the comparison that comes to mind is like maybe somebody gets really good at this street vibe coding, right? So
Hmm.
you're really fast on the street, you can really negotiate with traffic, and then you think, I'm gonna show up at the track and I'm gonna
Yeah.
knock people out. It's gonna be like, and then reality is gonna hit. And the reason why I'm mentioning that, before I went to the track, I had like 20 plus years of street riding, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna get to that track and I'm gonna be fast like right off the bat. Oh,
Right.
buddy, no, different set of skills, it's like a whole different level,
I mean,
right?
even if you limit, we can take two racing examples. We can take the drag strip versus a course that requires turns. Like you
Correct.
can be really fast in a straight line and,
Yep.
eat up your competition all day long, but you put those same
Yeah.
two cars on a course that requires turns and negotiating braking,
There you
the
go.
outcome is going to be very, very different, especially if you don't have the skills to handle that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. Interesting. That
So
is
that's
very
what vibe
interesting.
coding is in a strange way. The ability to move really fast on the drag strip. Like you can go fast in a very straight line. And mostly so and even that's not the perfect comparison because there are these turns, but you're not making any of them. The AI is
Yeah.
handling all of this for you. It's concealing it. And now because
Yes.
you are moving in a straight line, you're saying, hey, okay, that's done. I tested it, looks good. Next thing, next thing. So you are moving in a very straight line, even though AI under the hood is making all of these twists and turns, but it's not
Right.
doing it in a way that considers the safety of the people who will ultimately be using this application. Now, if you're
Correct.
building something that only lives in your house or is something that only you are exposed to as a singular user,
Yeah.
hey, I mean, these security concerns may be irrelevant in that context. Like it's
Right.
maybe doesn't it maybe it only lives on your phone. In that
Yeah.
case, build it however you want to, as long as it's working, fine. But
Yeah.
when we put other people in the car with us, we have to make sure the car has seatbelts. Period.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned because I did like build a simple app with a AI Studio to solve a
Hmm.
problem that like I have a problem that I need something like an app to help me make progress, right? With understanding and things like that. So I built something like, okay, yeah, oh, I like the results. I mentioned it to some people and they're like, "Oh, can you send me a link to that? I would like to try that out." I'm like, "Well, okay, I didn't build it for that."
That's right.
So my next thing, which I'm already uh, going after, is doing some deep research to say, okay, this is a project, this is what it does, this is the kind of data that goes through it. If I am to, you know, offer this, to a wider audience, what do I need to know?
Yes.
Like, what are the legal ramification of it? What do I need to know that I don't know? That like right now it's like, yeah, it's my stuff. I don't care. I'm good. Or I know what I care about. But
Yeah.
once you open it, but then again, use the tools. Right now, I need to like move my body faster in that way, or I need to slow down because there's a bump in the road that was not there before. Let me do
Right.
some research to know how to negotiate that.
And Interesting times. And as much as I would like
Yeah,
to continue going down this line of thought, and I will, like, but outside of the
of
scope
course.
of this call.
Sure,
So
sure.
take us home, Claudio. Take us home.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, as usual, it was a great conversation from the intro all the way through it. We show up like with a blank canvas, and
Yes.
as we go through it, we develop our thoughts, we find the connections, we come through different perspectives, and we look at different points from different perspectives, different connections that were not there before. And this is why I really enjoyed doing this kind of thing. So.
Same here.
Yep, it was a pleasure. So for you folks listening, watching, whatever you're doing, or maybe reading a transcription at some points, we should like figure out a way to do that as well and offer that as something for people. But
I have some ideas in
yeah,
mind for that, but we'll see.
we'll see. Yeah, we'll do 1 week at a time. So see you
Yes,
all next
sir.
week.